From corporate MBA to brilliant health coach focused on brain and gut health. How Sophie Mayo, I can't wait for you to hear her story, how a family experience with Alzheimer led her to be a powerful advocate for prevention of Alzheimer's and for helping people restore the health. I can't wait for you to hear all that she has to share. Please welcome Sophie Mayo.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaunna. Thank you for having me today.
Well, you have such a unique background. A lot of people that come to us have a background in health, and that was not your story at all. So tell us, what were you doing before? What was your life like before becoming a health coach? And then what led you to get into this world of health?
So I spent about 30 years in corporate world, in mostly in IT consulting. I started my career actually in Luxembourg as an auditor, and then came to the US to do an MBA. And after that, I went into IT research, which helped me land a job as a strategist in a big IT consulting firm, where I stayed almost 20 years. And then from there, I decided that I wanted to completely change my career. I went back to school to become a health coach. I joined the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and then after a year of that, I decided to become a health coach.
And so, okay, so tell us, so you've got this IT corporate background, and then we switched over. Tell us a little bit about that impetus of what happened that led you to get into health.
Yes. As you said, like health was definitely not on the radar for me. I mean, yes, my taking care of my own health, but not really being worried about health at all until the health of my parents started to deteriorate, and specifically my mom, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer at the age of 74. And that was a major shift, obviously, in our life. It was very much in denial at first, and not really wanting to believe, what was happening to her. And she knew exactly what was going to happen because her own mom also had some form of Alzheimer, probably dementia. And then later on, we found out that one of her sister, brother, and a cousin also had dementia. So it really was running in the family. And it was hard, very hard, because I was in the US, my mom was in Europe, and it was really hard to see her, decline so fast, being an ocean away.
Yeah.
And thinking about, what could happen to me. Originally, at the beginning, I was thinking like, wow, if it happens to me, I think I'm going to try to figure out how I can, take my life, because I did not want to experience what my mom was experiencing. And until I found out actually that that we can have agency over our brain. The Alzheimer is a disease that does not have a cure, today, but it is, very few people are getting Alzheimer through their parents, their family. It's not always genetics. The majority of cases are actually through lifestyle and the environment that people live in. So from there, I found like, okay, I have agency over my brain. I can do something about it. I'm not doomed, to have Alzheimer. And I completely changed my lifestyle. I started to eat much better, like whole food, plant-based. Our whole family became plant-based. Started prioritizing sleep. I was, being a consultant, you work many hours, and so I was working late, getting up early. Sleep was not on my radar. I started to move a lot more, and being a lot more conscious about what I was, doing through my brain, and the results were really amazing. I felt, I felt my metabolism was revved up. I felt much lighter in my step. I lost, some actually 20 pounds, so which was not insignificant. And then from there, I really wanted everyone in my family to, to hear about this and to follow my step. And it was really difficult, to share, all of that. And until, someone is really intrigued and interested and willing to receive, the message, it's really hard to be, proactively, sharing that. And I was so frustrated that, that was also one thing that prompted me to, to go to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and learn to become a health coach. So learn how I could, really articulate the best approach, to help people, also change their life.
Yeah. I mean it is so powerful. It's so empowering to really go from hopeless where you look at you see other family members getting that and you're like, man, I do not want to have that. You don't want to see anyone go through that. And so many people, millions of people just feel absolutely helpless. It's a
Mm-hmm.
devastating thing. But to
Mm-hmm.
know there's that little ray of hope, that little glimmer of hope that, hey, wait a minute, there is something that we can do and it works. It's and to be able to you want to do something, and if you don't think it's going to do anything, or then why bother? But it does, and that has led you on this journey that has allowed you to become more and more passionate about it. Who exactly now, as you've refined, so we kind of people start off and as more generic health coach, who are you especially passionate about helping as a health coach?
So I'm most passionate about helping, women, women in their midlife. They may are experiencing their menopause, or postmenopausal, state, and they may have a history of family history of Alzheimer, or perhaps just memory concerns. And they know there's a problem there that they want to address. They don't know how, but they know that there is a possibility to nurture their brain, to nurture their gut, and and then really boost their energy and their mental clarity and their overall vitality. And very often people ask me, like, why do you focus on women? And there's really two reasons for that. One is that, of all cases of Alzheimer dementia, the majority, about 2/3, are women. So that is a big proportion of the population. And also because women are the biggest influencer in the home, so they are the one typically who will buy the food, cook the food, they set routines in the house, and they have a huge influence on the health of their family. And so by starting with women, you usually have a ripple effect,
Yeah.
with the children, with the husbands, and perhaps also the other members of their extended family.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. We need more people like you. Your work is so needed. We will at the end let people know how they can get in touch with you. What is your favorite part about doing like health coaching can be such a rewarding career. It really is. There's so on so many levels. It is. What is your favorite part of doing this work and being a health coach?
So my favorite part is to help the people who want to be helped,
Yeah.
because there's such a, as you mentioned, is so rewarding, to see people who are, thirsty, and they really want to to hear what you have to say, to hear the experience that that I've lived, and see how they can apply it in their life. And I see my client, just in just a few weeks, like regaining control over how they feel, how they live, understanding the impact of the choice that they make in their life, whether it's the food that they eat, the movement that they intake, like walking, running, strength training, the when they prioritize sleep, how they feel so much better in the morning when they wake up. And so that's really rewarding. And the philosophy that I bring also to the journey is the mindset of abundance, not restriction. So I focus on the things that my clients can add in their life. Not, I do not tell them, never tell them, do not do this.
Yeah.
That is not a message that I share, because also, that I don't think it would work anyway.
Right. Yeah.
People do whatever they want, but what they love is the opportunity to try something new, to add something, a new vegetable in their plate, a new exercise, a new study that they can learn from. It all of that, learning and experimenting, trying something new, and then if it works, great, they adopt it. If it doesn't work, we pass it and we try something different.
Yeah.
And it's really working really well.
I love that. It's the IIN philosophy of crowding out as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
always been a fan of that. It is so much easier rather than making something like forbidden fruit because it
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, it makes it such a better thing. And it's easier for the people to follow. It's more enjoyable and also giving them something to do. It helps them add to that empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
What before uh joining us here at the Health Professional Academy and in this family that we have here, what is something that you were looking for? Where were you at before, and what were you looking to gain from working with us here at the Health Professional Academy?
So having spent so much time in a corporate setting, I was always working in a team, like with other people, with obviously some people above me, etc., and directing what I would be doing, etc. And when I decided to shift towards becoming a health coach, I was really not worried, but like, I did not want to work by myself. I didn't want to be just me behind my computer, seeking clients. And I was really intrigued by the structure of the program, and the ability to follow a proven path, to not only find it really my niche and what I was going to go after, and also figure out how to find clients, and then also one thing that I really like about this is these hearing from a group of like-minded people, where it's really, you build a community of health coach, and some of them been there for many years. And so it's really encouraging to hear their story, how how they help their clients, how they reach out to more clients, basically what they've built over the years. And it's super inspiring.
We are at the Health Professional Academy on a mission to help health coaches with their missions, their
Mhm.
unique missions of what they want to do. In your case, helping these women who might have a family history of Alzheimer's and looking to improve their health, being an advocate for that, or being caregivers of somebody with Alzheimer's, that so allowing you the infrastructure to get your message out there. uh, that's our mission, helping so many people because you have unique experiences. I always say none of us wants to be an expert at what we're an expert at, but here we are. And so we have gone through some tough challenges, but that creates such powerful niches, which becomes really client attractive so that you can make that difference. And then it's a win-win all the way around. So
Mhm.
if you're listening to this and you're like a health coach and you're like, you know, how do I actually like get the structure together? Or I don't even know what my niche is. I'm going to invite you to get a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach. I'll put a link below and you're able to get a copy of that so that we can get you pointed in the right direction. But know that help is on the way. There is help there. And so, Sophie, you help women with in midlife, that especially those who have a family history of Alzheimer's, with their brain health, their gut health. What is the biggest misconception or misunderstanding that people have when it comes to Alzheimer's?
Yeah, well, my experience is that many believe that Alzheimer is a disease of old age, right? And probably one thing that factors into that is that the numbers of people diagnosed with Alzheimer and dementia is increasing, significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And also many believe that there's nothing that you can do about it. And today, there's no cure for Alzheimer. And when you think about it, my mom was diagnosed, she was 74 years old. 74, and some people get diagnosed in their 60s, in their 50s with early onset of Alzheimer. But just even like 74, that's young in today's age. Like we many people say like 70 is the new 50, right? And my mom, like she had so many years ahead of us of her that were essentially robbed from her, because of this disease. And in the same time, you see a lot of people in their 90s, or even approaching hundreds, right? That, have a completely clear mind, clear brain.
Yeah.
And you wonder, like, what did they do differently? What was different? As I alluded to earlier, is that the reality is that only a very small percentage of cases of Alzheimer are purely genetic. The majority of the cases are, based on the environment and the lifestyle, and also are linked to a lot of the chronic diseases, such as unmanaged diabetes, type 2, unmanaged cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, as well as poor diet, lack of movement. A lot of people are very sedentary these days. Smoking, alcohol abuse, head trauma, of course, it's a big one. And even hearing loss is a major new discovery from the last Lancet report. And then also, last but not least, is social isolation. And as you know, we have a lot of that, especially after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And which, I mean, if you think about it, all of that, for the most part, can be prevented through
Right.
lifestyle and, the choices that we make, every day. And today, unfortunately, there's no cure for Alzheimer. I mean, billions have been spent, to find a cure, to no avail today. I mean, there's a lot of, obviously, trials out there, and a lot of hope, which is great. We are even starting to hearing about, potential reversal cases, and there are a few cases of reversal that, could it become, the new normal, which would be fantastic, obviously. But in the meantime, we know that there are proven intervention that reduces the risk of having Alzheimer, significantly. And the percentage vary depending on the studies that are out there, but it's, upwards of 50, 60, and even more, percentage of reduction of, getting Alzheimer. And the core intervention that, that we know about, for brain health are very simple. It's everyday, choices. It's prioritizing whole food over, ultra processed food. So especially what we call the MIND diet, which is a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which is very well known worldwide,
Yeah.
together with the DASH diet, which is focused on diet for high blood pressure.
Right.
Another area is movement. So, moving more, 10 minutes, 20 minutes walking, just simple walking is great. Sleep, prioritizing sleep, because during the night, our brain is getting a lot of clearing of the toxins, etc. So sleep is super important. Stress management. Stress is often at the core of a lot of those chronic diseases.
Yes.
So managing the stress is super important. Challenging your brain, learning something new every day. And then last, again, but not least, is social interaction. And what's interesting is there was a study that was done last year by the Alzheimer Association, the US Pointer study, that followed a group of over 2,000 people who were at high risk of getting Alzheimer. And they were given a direction to adopt a new lifestyle, very much in the areas that we were just covering now. A group was under a structured setting. So meaning that they had very, a lot of instructions as to what to follow, plus, people that were working with them, such as health coach. And another group was just, it was a self-guided setting. And the group that was under the structured program, actually both group improved, cognition improvement. Both group experienced improvement of their cognition, but the group that was under the structure setting improved significantly more, which I think is really obviously rewarding for us health coach, because it shows that we have an impact, a clear impact on our clients, so that's a really fantastic study.
Yeah.
And there's one more message that I think is really, really hard to convey, is that, essentially what we are helping our clients with is prevention.
Yeah.
And prevention is a really hard sell,
Mhm.
especially that in the case of brain health, prevention must start in your 40s, in your 50s. It's 20 years before the first symptom,
Right.
happen. And so I think it's really hard for people to, to comprehend that and to take action today for something that may or not happen 20 years, down the
Right.
road.
Yeah.
It's very much delayed gratification, and it's not something that, we're as human like. So, many people prefer to take a pill. It's so much easier. But at this point, there's no magic pill for Alzheimer's. So all the what we can do is, to work on prevention. And what I find is like with, my clients, the people I work with, is like, they totally get that. And
Mm-hmm.
the beauty is that, they don't, they don't need to wait for very long to experience benefits from the work that we do together. In just a few weeks, they experience amazing, amazing results. They feel, so much better in their body. They feel much lighter in their step and clearer in the mind. It's like, it's really, really rewarding, again, back to, to what we were talking about earlier, to see that it's just a few days, a few weeks, they see results.
I love all of that. So there's a things that you can do that are real. The value of the health coach
Mhm.
to is real. It's measurable. We can see the
Mhm.
benefits of that. Information is everywhere, but especially for someone who might be struggling with Alzheimer's and cognition, that's going to be even more of a challenge to sort through that. So
Mhm.
even more important that they have, that guide. But even though some of the benefits, the real big benefits of prevention might be delayed for 20 years, there's things that can happen right now where we're feeling better right now. The benefits are right here and right now. So I love all of that, Sophie. If you guys have a question for Sophie about anything that she shared, pop that in the comments. And she's happy to respond. We'll let you know in a moment here just how you can reach out to her if you know someone who is in that world, whether they're either struggling or they're worrying about prevention or they're navigating a partner with that. I'll let you know in a moment how you can reach out. But first, I want to just ask Sophie, this whole journey of being a health coach and gathering all this information. You come from that corporate world, which was not anywhere into this world, and how far you have come and grown. How exactly have you grown as a health coach? How's that impacted your life? And just to and and then if you had to go back to your former self, a message for your former self. So how have you grown? What's the message?
So honestly, this journey has completely changed my life. In many ways, what happened to my mom, and I'm gonna get emotional here, but like what happened to my mom really maybe was meant to be,
Yeah.
because she was able to help me change my
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Not only in my health and the way I live, but also the work that I do at this point. The from I went from a corporate life to more of a portfolio life, which means that I'm able to, to do a lot more meaningful work, having a direct impact on people. Like it's,
Yeah.
I've, before as a consultant, you're so remote from, from who you can influence. But, here I'm working directly with someone. I spend more time volunteering. Actually had a meeting today. We're reorganizing a monthly lunch for the community, and I'm going to be helping, not only with the food that we prepare, but also teaching the community
Love
about
that.
health and the healthy choice that they can make, specifically with food. I'm, researching plant-based cooking, spending more time with my friends. We cook together, we do arts together. And also as a researcher, fundamentally a researcher, there's something new that I learn every day. Like I read new studies, I read a lot of different articles, listening to podcasts. I mean, there's just so much, a lot of richness, in this space. And I love, to distill all of it, connect dots and bring the important points to my clients.
Yeah, awesome. Fantastic. It does feel like it's been full circle and maybe in the big picture meant to be, who knows, but certainly so many people have benefited because of what you've gone through
Mm-hmm.
and when you hit that rock bottom, take the bounce, and you certainly
Mm-hmm.
have taken the bounce and been able to create something amazing with it. I like to take this like theory that we've been talking about, and it's practical theory, if you will, but like and really give it fill in the blanks and give it some color by sharing a couple of stories of clients that you've worked with who might have been coming to you for one thing. And because we who knows what happens 20 years down the road. And just to show like how impactful this is right away, right here and now. And so people will often come to you for one thing, and that might get better. But then often, because we address root cause, there's so many other bonus
Mm-hmm.
benefits that happen. Share a couple of stories with us because these are my favorite things, and it's really eye-opening and of what's possible.
Yes. Well, I have a client because I'm still working with this client. She came to me because she wanted to stay ahead of insulin resistance. There's a lot of diabetes in her family, and she wanted to make sure that was not going to happen to her. She had some weight to lose, but that was not really like a major focus. She just wanted to feel better, I would say, like in her clothes. That said, she really wanted to shift, to a much healthier way of eating, choosing better food. And she did not want another diet. She had done Weight Watcher. She would, and she did not want to do that. And then on top, as we were, talking, her sister had been diagnosed with Alzheimer, and that was a major trigger for her, to work together. And one more thing is that she was doing a lot of physical exercise, but she wanted, to have a better routine and understand how she could diversify her exercise.
Mhm.
So basically, she knew what she needed to do, but she was struggling getting started and specifically, getting consistent. So we started working together. And what she shared that what was different compared to other things that she had tried before was that the structure that we put in place, the customized approach. So I met her where she was. I brought a lot of science, into the explaining the why. I was sharing, information about the different, element of brain health and gut health, and so that she could embrace these changes, with confidence, and also a lot of, as I mentioned, like we took this abundance mindset. So she tried a lot of different things and really captured what was working for her, and now has been adopting those new habits very sustainably. um, and the beauty also as we we're working together, we addressed the topic of sleep, and sleep for her in the past had been a real challenge. She was very active also in the corporate world, and burning the candle by both ends, also like also as in working late, getting up early, having to travel, leaving her house in the middle of the night, et cetera, et cetera. And so she'd never really had a chance to prioritize sleep. But as we talked about it, we really looked at her routine, and basically came up with the plan that as soon as she's feeling tired, she really needs to go to bed instead of fighting it.
Yeah.
And now through changing her routine, she's able to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed in the morning. And that was like a huge bonus for her. And then compounded that with the better food, more exercise, etc. And she's really experiencing amazing results, and is really really loving it, to the point that she thanks me so many times, thanked me so many times for helping her, for really making a difference in her life. And what's brilliant is like she also understands like the connection between all of these elements, right? It's not just not just the food, not just the movement. It's like the combination of all of these things that really have a powerful impact on the overall our overall health, and on her ability to fend off diabetes, and fend off potentially brain issues, and and overall she's accomplished all the goals that she had set for herself, plus the good night's sleep. And even though she losing weight was not like a top priority, she lost 12 pounds, and stayed on track through the holidays. We're just post holidays now. She stayed on track through the holidays, and she's just so proud of herself. And as a super bonus, which is I love, 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 and she just shared that with me this week, is that her husband is starting to eat so much better as well, and moving a lot more than that what he was doing before. So back to what I was telling you earlier about the influence that women have in their house, right, in their home. It's a beautiful ripple effect for her husband. So she's basically this great role model for him.
Excellent. I love it. Was there one other that you just briefly wanted to share?
Yes, another one. And dear client. I met her at a meeting that the Alzheimer Association had organized to discuss the preventable measures that anyone can have to fend off Alzheimer. And she was at that event because her husband has Alzheimer, and she's taking care of him. And we started talking. There was a luncheon. We started talking, and she had heard in the talk by the association about the importance of food and etc. And she really wanted to learn more about how the connection between the gut microbiome and brain health. And she was really curious about, she had been vegetarian in the past, but she really wanted to learn more about it, and how she could really take care of her gut microbiome. She also wanted to figure out, how she could move more, and especially with the constraint that she had, which was taking care of her husband, and also better sleep. And so she had a beautiful vision. She had grandchildren, so she, her vision was to, being able to keep up with her grandchildren, and also stay independent, and having, living with her husband, she understood how important it was to be independent for as long as she could. And so we worked together, and what she really, really loved about us working together was the abundance mindset. And I'm repeating myself, but I think it's such an important way of changing your life, is looking at all of what we have, as opposed to the things that we cannot have. And loved also, adding new things, like learning new things. And as we worked also, we she had been, doing a lot of art, when she was younger, and she working together, she rediscovered her love for creativity, and both in the kitchen, so preparing beautiful, colorful meals, as well as, doing art. And we did, some art together, and we had so much fun. It was, such a great way for her also to cope with, her having to care for her husband, basically 24/7.
Yeah.
So,
So not only helping her with the initial intent to understand microbiome, brain health, could she help her husband? How could she prevent that for herself? But then also um, pursuing these creative activities that helps her like manage the stress and navigate the stress that comes along with that. So on multiple levels, that ripple benefit grows. I love that, Sophie. How can people connect with you if they're like, I got to talk to this woman, maybe she can help me or someone I know? How can they connect with you?
well, I have a website. It's joinsophiemeyo.com. So join Join Sophie Mayo, SOPHIEMAYO.com. I'm also on Instagram, Sophie Mayo _ health coach. And I also write a Substack. You can find me at Sophie J. Mayo. I write about the win of the day, and all the topics around health, stories with my friends, and I share recipes. So many different ways of contacting me, and I'd love to hear from you. So please do contact me.
I know you're a fierce advocate and a huge wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much, Sophie. And for
Oh,
you,
thank
thank you
you.
for listening and for tuning in. And if you're a health coach trying to figure out, okay, this is really good. How do I put this together? What are some of the steps to create my own practice for my own niche? I've put a video here so that you can continue your journey in creating. This is on the 5 steps to create a successful health coaching practice. And with that, have a phenomenal week. And of course, be good for you.
Be well. Thank you so much, Dr. Shaunna.